Welcome to Section 8, the final tutorial section in this course. In this section, I will be expanding on the knowledge you've gained throughout this course, as well as introduce important concepts such as JPEG versus PNG. I will also be showing you some tips and tricks you can use to enhance your Photoshop workflow. This is a very important section, as there will be many useful materials to make your Photoshop experience more enjoyable. After this section, you'll be fully equipped with sufficient knowledge in Photoshop to do professional image adjustments and amazing graphic designs. Hope you're excited! Previously, we have learned how we can create text with the text tool. In this video, I will teach you how you can use fonts from external sources, which will give you more choices in your designs. First, let's see how we can find external fonts. You can always search for them online. You'll see that there are tons of free as well as paid fonts out there for you to choose. For me, I want to use free fonts, so I will search for free fonts for commercial use. There are several sites available, but I'm going to choose this site, 1001 Fonts. There are tons of free fonts here that you can download and use. Simply scroll over them or find the font category you want. You can preview your text and see how the font looks like. Besides 1001fonts.com, I personally use dafont.com as well. But do note that for every font you want to download, you should look at the font license. Every font here is created by someone who may allow you to use the font for commercial and personal use or only personal use, and most of them only allow personal use. Personal use refers to projects with no intention for monetary or commercial gains. Some of the fonts will require you to pay a license if you wish to use it for commercial purposes. So, do look out for that. Now, once you have confirmed the license for a font you like, you can download it. Once done, you can open the downloaded file. In the file, you might see different files and file types. The actual font has an extension of either .ttf or .otf, which stands for True Type Font or Open Type Font. .otf is a newer version and it will allow you to type more special characters than the .ttf will, and is often slightly larger in size. Both file types will work fine for your computer, so it's up to you to choose. For me, I'm going to choose .otf, so I'll just have to double-click on it. Once you double-click, an installation wizard will pop out, and all you have to do is press install. Remember to choose only either the OTF or TTF. It is redundant to install both of them. Once done, the font will be automatically installed on your computer. When you enter Photoshop, you can see that the font will appear under the original font name. Now that it's there, I can use it. Photoshop offers quite limited fonts, and most of them are quite basic fonts like Arial. If you would like fancier fonts such as this over here, be sure to download external fonts. But always remember to check the licenses before you use them. In the previous video, we talked about how we can add external fonts. In this video, we are going to look at how we can add external brushes. The brushes that you use for layer mask or drawing are the hard and soft round brush. But as you scroll down, you'll be able to see that there are also fancy brushes available for you to choose. And just like the fonts, there are many other fancy brushes out there that people use for their designs, such as snowflake brushes or grass-like brushes. Downloading external brushes is more or less the same as downloading fonts. First, search for brushes for Photoshop, and you'll see many results. Let's look at this brusheasy.com. There are many options here for you to choose, or alternatively, we could choose a keyword. For example, let me type snowflake here. Then press enter. These patterns are how your brush pattern will be like if you use it. Let's choose one of them. Like fonts, Remember to check whether the brush can be used for commercial purposes. Once done, you can download the brush. After you've downloaded it, take note that you are not supposed to double-click on the file like you do with fonts. There are two main ways you can load your brush. The first would be to go to your Photoshop folder in your drive and under Preset folder, find the Brush folder and paste your downloaded brush there. But that might be quite troublesome as you have to locate the exact path to the Brush folder in Photoshop. Instead, we could navigate to Photoshop and under Brush, click on this setting icon, then click Import Brushes and select the brush you've just downloaded. That's it! Now that you've downloaded the brushes, you'll see that they are now loaded at the bottom of the other brushes. You will be able to use the brush like any other normal brush. Usually, the .abr brush file you've downloaded will come preloaded with more than one type of brush. For my case, the pack I downloaded contains 20 types of brushes. Let's now try the newly downloaded snowflake brushes. It's used the same way as the round brush. I can change the opacity, the color, and the brush size. The only difference is the effect it produces. Photoshop external brushes provides an easy fix for adding such shapes. Snowflake brushes, sparkle brushes, and others will make your photoshopping life much easier. But do remember that brushes are rasters, and hence pixel-based. The original pixel size, the auto set, will be the ideal size to use. You are free to increase or decrease the brush size, but if you do it too extremely, the brushes will look pixelated when you draw. For example, if the original brush size is 200 pixels and I were to increase it to 2000 pixels to draw, I will see this pixelated brush when I paint. Always download high-quality brushes if you are going to use them for a large project. People nowadays tend to create Photoshop brushes with sizes of a few thousand pixels, so it won't be difficult finding high-quality brushes. Besides adding font and brushes, you can also add external shapes. For now, you should be familiar with the process. We start by searching online, free Photoshop shapes for commercial use. Let's select this site here for now. As you can see, there are many shapes for me to choose from. I'll choose the ribbon shape here and click on the download to download. Remember that fonts have the extensions of .otf or .ttf and brushes have the extensions of .abr. For shapes, their extensions are .csh. Now, I will load this shape into Photoshop. As with brushes, there are also two ways you can load external shapes. The first would be to go to the Photoshop preset folder and go into the custom shape folder. Paste your .csh new shape and restart Photoshop. But there is an easier way to do that, which is to go into Photoshop, under Shape, go into Custom Shape, and under this setting icon here, click Load Shape. Find your shape and double-click it. You will see that the shapes will get loaded here. Depending on what you've downloaded, there may be more than one shape. In my case, there are more than 20 ribbons here for me to choose from. As with all other shapes, I can change the fill, stroke, and simply treat it as a normal shape. Remember that the main difference between shape and brush is that shape is vector-based, while brush is pixel-based. This means that I will be able to enlarge or decrease the shape indefinitely without seeing a loss in quality. Great! Now that we know how we can download external shapes and external brushes to perform the same function, should we use the shape or the brush? Ultimately, it really is up to you, and you will have to see which nice shape or brush you can find. As a general rule of thumb, shape tends to be better as you can scale without losing quality. However, you can usually find more brushes than shapes on the internet because brushes are easier to create. Brushes also tend to contain more dramatic effects or designs because they are not bounded by mathematical rules. Shapes will be good for clean and minimalistic designs though. So, you have to weigh the pros and cons and decide for yourself. Over here, you may have noticed that I have tons of different custom shapes. This is because I once imported a shape pack containing close to 1,000 shapes. These shapes have become my staples, and I often come here to see the types of shapes I can use for my design works. You should also explore the different shapes and brushes available, but always be sure to check the license before using. In this video, we will cover the concept of image extensions so that you know the image type to save for your photo. There are 3 main extensions for you to save your images as: the JPEG, PNG, and GIF. There are many other extensions here such as TIFF, and if you have never heard of them before, you are not likely to need to use them. We are mainly concerned with the 3 I have mentioned: JPEG, PNG, and GIF. You won't be able to see the GIF option over here under the Save As option. If you want to save as GIF, you'll need to go to Export, Save for Web Legacy, and find the GIF extension there. Let me first explain the JPEG format. JPEG supports up to 16 million different colors, and it does not support transparency. JPEG is a lossy format, which means that each time you save an image as a JPEG, the quality will decrease. JPEG is good because it produces smaller file sizes as it compresses your picture. Most of the photos you take on your camera are in JPEG format. JPEG does not support animation, so all your images are static. On the other hand, PNG also supports 16 million different colors, but PNG supports transparency. Transparency means that an image can be saved without its background. In this example, I have a text and a circle shape with no background. Let me save this image as a PNG format, and then reopen the saved picture. Now, you can see that the image I opened also has a transparent background. But if I were to save this as a JPEG format instead, when I open the saved image, I will see that the background is automatically added to the image because JPEG does not support transparency. Transparency is important in website or design works where your logos need to have a transparent background. PNG is a lossless format, so no matter how many times you save the same image over and over again, the quality will not drop. Hence, PNG being a lossless format will produce better quality images than JPEG. PNG does not support animation as well. Lastly, GIF. GIF is a format that only supports 256 colors. If your image contains more than 256 colors, Photoshop will strip down the color to one of the 256 colors. This means that you will lose a lot of details, and hence, GIF is not a good format to save pictures. However, it can be used to save animation. Now, let's take a look at the differences between the 3 different formats. Here on the top left, we have a JPEG image that is only 885 KB in size. At the same resolution, the PNG version is 4.4 MB in size, 5 times bigger than the JPEG version. I will go through in detail in the next video what quality 10 here means and the smaller size means. The GIF at the bottom produces poorer quality, yet it has a larger file size than the JPEG. As such, there is no reason for you to use GIF at all unless you want animated graphics. PNG is especially useful if you are saving text, line art, or any image with fewer colors. By fewer colors, I mean pictures with less than a few hundred different shades. In these cases, PNG will produce better quality pictures than JPEG and may even have a smaller file size. In this example, this photo only has a line art with 2 colors, and hence should be saved in PNG. In essence, PNG is superior to JPEG, but produces larger file sizes for very colorful images. That is why JPEG is the default file size for most phones and cameras out there, as it balances between quality and file size. You should use JPEG if slightly lower quality is not an issue for you. If you need transparency, PNG is the only way to go, and if you need animation, go for GIF. In the previous video, we discussed the differences between JPEG, PNG, and GIF so that you can decide the image type for your photo. Moving on, we will now talk about the different options you can select when you save. First, let's look at saving in JPEG and the options provided. When you indicate you want to save your image as a JPEG file, there will be 3 different options for you to choose from: the JPEG, JPEG 2000, and JPEG Stereo. JPEG is the most common format you should be familiar with. The JPEG 2000 is an improved version of the original JPEG. It was developed in the year 2000, hence its name. It promises better efficiency in compression and offers better image quality. However, JPEG 2000 is not backwards compatible. Most cameras and software don't support JPEG 2000, which is why it's rarely even heard of. JPEG 2000 is not universally as well supported as the original JPEG, so it would be risky to use it despite its improved quality, in case it's not supported by any software you like to use. Next, the JPEG Stereo is a type which allows you to combine 2 static images and place them beside each other to achieve a 3D effect like this. However, you are not likely to use this format often. So, for JPEG, the go-to choice is usually the original JPEG format. So, select the JPEG option and thereafter, you will be prompted to choose a quality between 1 to 12. The higher the quality, the better the end result, but the bigger the file size as well, since less compression will be done to the photo. For Photoshop edited photos, you will usually want to save the quality as high, which is in the range of 8 to 12. Depending on the size you can afford the photo to be, 10 is the best quality that you can go for considering the size. The human eyes cannot differentiate between a quality of 10, 11, or 12. So, if you want the best quality and a good size, go for 10, not 12. The only reason you will want to save your image with quality 12 is if you are planning to reopen your photo and save the photo again in JPEG in the future. Do also remember that every time you save in JPEG, your photo quality will decrease. If you are concerned about the quality, you should be saving your document as a .photoshop file, or maybe even PNG, and just not JPEG. If you need better balance between quality and size, 8 is a good number. Your image will not look as good as if you save under 10, but the file size will decrease significantly. Try not to go lower than 8 though, because the quality will be pretty bad. Next, baseline standard here means that your JPEG photo will be supported by almost all browsers out there, whereas baseline optimize optimizes the color quality of the image and will lead to a lower image size with higher quality, but may not be supported by all browsers. Most popular modern browsers like Chrome support this option. Today, there is really no reason to choose baseline standard anymore, because modern browsers such as Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and Opera support baseline optimized. So, I recommend that you use this instead. Next, progressive here means that the browser will progressively load your images. What this means is that you will first load a poorer quality version of your photo, before loading it with its full quality. This means that your photo will be available earlier, as you wouldn't need to wait for all the data of your original photo to be transmitted before the photo is viewable. Now, that is all you need to know about saving JPEG photos. To review, I save my JPEG photos in its original JPEG with a quality between 8 to 10, and I select baseline optimized. Let's move on to PNG. For PNG, it is a very straightforward selection. You wouldn't need to select the quality because PNG is a lossless format. Hence, you should go for smallest or slow to get the smallest file size. This option means that the PNG that you save will be of a smaller size, but it will take longer to save. If your image is only 3000 pixels wide or such, the saving time is usually only a few seconds longer and hence insignificant. However, if you are saving a larger image, that's for example 50,000 pixel large, then choosing this option may lead to a dramatically longer wait. Next, interlacing here is similar to the progressive that you see for JPEG. If you don't select this, your photo will load from the top to the bottom. If you select interlacing, it will load a full view of your photo with low quality and progressively increase the quality to its actual quality as more data gets loaded. So, these are the different saving options available for you to choose. I hope you now know the options you should choose to optimize your photo. Let's talk about how we should be preparing images for printing. For printing, we should be concerned with the concept of pixels per inch, or PPI in short. Before that, what exactly is pixels per inch and why does it matter? Pixels per inch, as its name suggests, is the number of pixels present for 1 inch of print. Let's say you have 100 pixels per inch and your image has 1000 pixels. The image you print out will be 10 inches because every 1 inch of print will have 100 pixels. As discussed in the lecture about pixels, pixels is really just one square of color over here. The more pixels you put in 1 inch of print, the sharper your image will look. Let's say you only put in 10 pixels in 1 inch. You'll be storing much less colors, shades, tone, and information in 1 inch of print as compared to having, let's say, 300 pixels in 1 inch. In summary, the more pixels you put in for 1 inch, the sharper, clearer, and higher quality your printed image will be. Also, please note that pixels per inch is only relevant when you are printing something. If you are simply using your image on the web or on digital devices such as your handphone, pixels per inch will not affect the quality. For web quality, it is the exact number of pixels in the width and height that is going to affect how big or small the image is and its quality. Then, what pixels per inch is good for your print? First of all, you have to consider the viewing distance, which is the distance the viewer will be from your print. As we have discussed, a higher PPI will lead to a sharper image. If you are printing, say, an A5 or A4 sized image, and your viewer will see the image up close, then the image will have to have a higher PPI because of the short viewer distance. However, if you are printing your image at a billboard size, or maybe even a poster size, where people most typically view it from a distance away, you won't need to have a very high PPI, since it is not likely that your viewer will be able to see how sharp the image is given the distance. A good pixels per inch to consider for images viewed up close, especially for A5 or A4 sizes, will be 300 PPI. It will be more than enough to produce a high quality, sharp image to read up close. If you are printing a poster size meant to be viewed 3 to 10 inches away, then 100 or 150 PPI is sufficient. On the other hand, if you are going to publish your image on the web, you can just keep it at 72 PPI. Most of your cameras or handphones keep your photo resolutions at 72 PPI by default. There is no need to adjust it since PPI is only relevant in print. Let's now see how we can change the PPI of your image. First, open image size and you'll be able to see the PPI, which is 72 for this. PPI is directly correlated to the image size in inches. So for example, this image has 1920 pixels and 26 inches here. If I were to print in this manner with 72 PPI, the photo I get will be 26 inches long. If I were to change the PPI to 300 instead, you can see that the pixels will automatically increase. This is because Photoshop will try to keep the pictures 26 inches in size. Since now I have 300 pixels in 1 inch, I will need to have more pixels for 26 inches. My image will be enlarged if I were to press OK. If, however, you try to keep the pixels at its original of 1920 pixels, while bumping up the resolution from 72 to 300 PPI, your image size will drop from 26 inches to 6.4 inches. So, the image you print will be 6.4 inches. Hence, these three variables, pixels width, resolution, and final print size, affect each other. Changing one of them will change another. So sometimes, if your image pixel width is not big enough, you won't be able to afford 300 ppi for your poster and have to settle at 150 ppi instead. In the case mentioned earlier, I have to settle for a 6.4 inches print, or I'll have to increase my overall pixel size, which is not recommended because your image will end up looking more pixelated. However, generally, increasing the pixel size by 50% or even 100% will not make a visible difference to the naked eye. Just make sure you don't increase it by like 1000%, for example. In this video, I will be discussing ways you can arrange your layers so that you can have a cleaner workspace. For projects with fewer layers, you don't really need to clean them since it's not that messy and you can easily refer to any layers in the future. However, if you are creating 20 designs in a single document, you will need a better way to arrange the layers. Grouping your layers is a good way to arrange and clean up your layer panel. To group your layers, select the desired layers, go to Layers, and press Group Layer. The shortcut for this is Ctrl-G or Command-G if you are using a Mac. Grouping Layer will arrange your layers in a group like this. Grouping is like putting the layers in a folder. Grouping doesn't do anything fancy and your layer will not be affected in any manner. However, you can now choose to hide or review the entire group so that all the layers inside the group will be hidden or reviewed. You may even toggle the opacity of the group and it will be applied to every layer inside the group. In this project, I am creating more than 20 different images. Hence, I can group each working file for each image inside a group so that I can easily access different groups in the future and see all the relevant working file. Oh, and if you're wondering why I have more than 20 images in a single document, it's because I find it too troublesome opening more than 20 Photoshop documents just to view or edit the file. Hence, compiling them into a single document makes viewing them in the future much easier for me. Besides grouping, you can also color tag each layer. Right-click on your layer, then select a color here. Color tagging will not affect your layer in any way. It simply puts a color on the layer for your own reference. So, you could perhaps color tag and note that all red tags are text files. The next time you need to locate a text layer, it will be much easier as you only have to look through the layers tagged with red. You should also consider merging or deleting unwanted layers to make your workspace easier to read, especially for projects with many layers. Remember that we group and color tag our layers to make our workspace cleaner and easier to navigate.